Because it's not like God says, oh, I want you to be poor or something and renounce everything, become a monk or something. Not everyone needs to become a monk. It's more about, where is your heart at? Are you doing things because you have to? Or because you're doing it, you have love for God? I'm doing this from my love. See the huge difference, right? One's a chore. I gotta hurry up and get it done, and then we forget the divine. But if we set our intention before, I'm going to do this for my beloved, man, it changes things so radically. Another good example, for me, one of my major practices is trying to do a asana practice or a yoga practice every morning for my body. And at the beginning of my yoga practice, I connect to the energy of the spiritual practice that I'm doing that month. I have a very specific, usually it's every month I do a different deity. And so I ask that deity to bless my yoga practice before I do it. You see what I mean? As opposed to just going in and saying, I'm going to do this to stretch my body out, to get some muscles, to tone, to make my body look good. I surrender this yoga practice to the deity that I want to connect to. Like last month, it was Christ, so I was focusing on Christ energy. And I would say, Christ, please be with me as I'm doing my yoga practice. Then it's a whole different context of doing my yoga, not just to get in shape. So it's a consecration of my whole life to do it in honor of divinity, because I recognize that ultimately divinity is in charge of everything. That's the ultimate power. So I have to get my context for my life in line with what my life is about. And that's really easy to forget unless I specifically say, okay, this is my intention before I do the practice. Similarly, let's say I'm going to eat food. Oftentimes I do the mantra, Tu Diyam Basta Govinda Tupa Meva Samarpayat. Before I eat the food, instead of what I used to do when I was really hungry, I would just gobble it right up because I'm so starved. And I wouldn't even think of God. I just think of how hungry I am. So now I say, I recognize that this food is God's. The energy to create this food came from divinity, the supreme power. I didn't create this food. Not even the farmers created it. Earth may have been, but even what created Earth? So you kind of keep going back to the source of where everything came from. So you say, Tu Diyam Basta Govinda Tupameva Samarpayat. What I'm offering unto you, O supreme power, whatever that is. I don't understand what it is, but I'm offering this to you, but it's already yours. So then the food becomes blessed, and then when I eat the food, now the food is purifying the cells of my body because it's infused with the energy of the divine. It totally changes the energy of the food when I do that blessing. So that's another way to take care of the physical body before I eat, remembering the divine. So I'm giving a context for all of life instead of just, I'm going to get things done and I'm busy doing appointment after appointment after appointment. And then by the time and then some people would say, oh, well, when I retire, then I'll think of God. I mean, think about it. By the time I retire, my body's rickety. It's going to be hard for me to even focus because my back is hurting. Or, I'm not saying everyone, but oftentimes the case. It's like by that time, it's even harder to just sit in meditation because the body is kind of getting older. Start now. Start now. And even if I am busy, if I'm going to a meeting, before I go into the meeting, I sit in my car or I sit in a quiet space before I go, and let's say I chant a mantra and I take a few breaths and I breathe the mantra in. You know how we did at the beginning of that song, and I just breathe it in and it just sort of percolates through my whole system. Then I go into the meeting. And it feels way more flowing than if I just come in and I rush, okay, I'm ready. Well, what kind of energy am I bringing to the meeting? I'm a stressed out energy, right? So I want to prepare myself for that meeting by being centered, focused, and then I come in, and then if I have a talk to do, my talk is easy because I'm focused. I'm in the flow. Words are just coming through, and if I'm interacting with people, it's beautiful because I feel loving, and people are interacting with me. I'm sharing loving words with them because I'm in a great space. I'm not stressed out. Even if there's hostile people in the meeting, they're disarmed because they feel my peace. How can you get upset at someone who's so peaceful? They're like, wow, you're so peaceful. Yeah, well, I like to do a little bit of meditation before I start the meeting. Really? Meditation? Tell me about that. You know, now they're so disarmed, they forgot even what they're upset at you about, right? It's also easier to approach confrontation too. If you're like someone you're worried about in that meeting about them getting upset at you, or you're going to share something sensitive, but you're so relaxed about it now, and you're not stressed, that because you approach it in a relaxed manner, they feel relaxed. So then they can respond to you in a relaxed fashion, and then you can adjust the argument in a way that's easy and relaxed, not like, let's put our fists together and like fight about this. Because they'll smell if you're fearful, if you're angry, if you're ready to fight. You come in and you're peaceful, they'll go, oh, that's giving me an opportunity to relax too, so I can talk a little bit more freely to them, and maybe we can work things out. Way easier to work out conflict in that state.